We are just days away from the debut of Lord of the Rings of Power on Amazon Prime, and it feels like they are preparing for the worst. They're already kind of saying, no matter what happens, this thing is going to be a success. We'll spin it one way or the other. But I think it's already been a success because I think they've succeeded in kind of tarnishing the legacy of Tolkien and Lord of the Rings. And here to talk with me about that is RJ from the Fourth Age. How you doing, RJ?
I'm doing great, and I'm ready to talk about Tolkien. It's one of my passions, actually. I love Tolkien, and what's happening to his legacy right now, it's abominable.
I don't think that Amazon, like when they went out there and got the IP for like Lord of the Rings and went to the Tolkien estate and everything, I don't think that they planned on like destroying and desecrating Tolkien's legacy and Lord of the Rings and the history of Middle Earth. But I think once that IP got into like Amazon Prime Video and into production, I think people were champing at the bit to get their hands on Lord of the Rings, Tolkien's work, and just kind of perverting it, desecrating it, just so they could kind of spit it out in their own image. And that's kind of what we're getting now. And not surprisingly, people aren't excited for it.
You're absolutely right. What I've seen and over the last couple of years, the interconnectedness of the web that works between comics and Hollywood, it's the people who are on the ground that are dealing with the production of things. That's who you got to watch out for. Everybody blames the companies, and they are to some extent relevant in the blame. But once you get the creatives, the people who are directing and really have the purse strings for the money, they're the ones that want to take everything in an entirely different direction, and it's just their own political direction.
Do you think that's because Lord of the Rings obviously is a big brand? You had the trilogy films, the Hobbit movies were also successful, that they decided they needed to grab it, modernize it, and kind of bastardize what it is, just so they can represent what they think Lord of the Rings should be to everyone else from modern times?
I was thinking about this, and I came up with something that was different than what most people are talking about. When I was talking about comics, they're always going on at Marvel about how this was the new mythology. And I think they've taken over that new mythology. Now they're going for actual mythology, but there's an in-between there, and that's the sci-fi fantasy, the high fantasy that we all know and love, and Tolkien would be at the height of that. Tolkien himself, he wanted to write a story that was basically mythology for the English countryside, because he didn't see mythology that was there as being anything that fit really with what he saw around him. So he wanted to build a new mythology. That's what he did. And he built that mythology for very specific people in a very specific place. This is like a citadel for them to take on their road. They wanted to build their own mythology, again, with comics and their new quote unquote heroes. But now they're going after the high fantasy and the things that connect to actual mythology. And that's what they need to take, because as much as I love comics, it's not as important as something like Tolkien, and just the way that he writes and how he did exactly what he wanted to do to build a new mythology. Although it didn't work out exactly as he wanted, he did build a mythological world that people aspire to, and that's what they really hate. That's where I think they're going for the heart with this.
I think it's one of the things that's really struck people is just how forward a lot of these people have been about their desire to take Tolkien's work and absolutely destroy it and rearrange it to their own benefit. One of those being Sophia Nomvet, who is the actress that plays, I believe, the Black Dwarf that you see in the promotional material. No beard, though, which doesn't seem right for a Tolkien dwarf. When she spoke to PA Media, she said, "To be a part of creating accessibility for generations to come, for new generations, this is their version of Tolkien. This is what my daughter will see of Tolkien's work." And then finally she said, "It's their time, and it's so important. I hope many people will see this fantasy and be able to relate to it. This is a reflection of the world we live in. There are many, and we aren't different, and we will embrace and discover and peel back and learn and educate and be educated." Never once mentioning entertaining, even though it's an entertainment, it's a streaming show, and talking about, we are taking Tolkien's work and I put my flag in it, and this will be the work of Tolkien for generations moving forward.
This new mythology that the quote-unquote progressives, SJWs want to make for themselves, it's a mythology for the future. It's their utopia that they want to build in the future. I mean, whereas old mythology has their golden age in the past, these people have their golden age in the future. And I was just listening to some interviews with writers for Marvel Comics, and they're talking about this exact thing about when we put this new character with this new skin color on top of an existing property, what we're doing, according to her, was that we're opening the door for more and more of this in the future. So that's exactly what I think she was talking about in that quote you gave. It's not so much that they're planting the flag to conquer what is past. They're planting the flag so that more and more and more of this can be the only future possible. And that's exactly what she said there at the end. This is the future. Again, they want the future of Tolkien to look nothing like Tolkien of the past. They want it to look like their own political agenda, which is, as they see it, the future.
We've heard it from the directors, the producers, the actors themselves, all kind of just talking down, looking down their noses at the fans, saying, you're wrong. You must be racist if you don't support our version, our bastardized version of Tolkien. This is what Business Insider claims when they spoke to several anonymous Amazon Studios executives explaining what success for the series, which is estimated to have cost upwards of $1 billion, looks like. In the report, Business Insider asserts word from those who've seen the episodes is positive, and several industry insiders predicted to Insider that Amazon will find a way, regardless of actual viewership, to sound the trumpets of victory. It doesn't matter if it's a critical success. It doesn't matter if it's a viewership success. They will claim success on this because it has to be successful. And I think in their minds, maybe not the executives and the bigwigs at Amazon, but the people associated with this show, they successfully took Tolkien's work. They took Lord of the Rings. They reconfigured it in their own image. They got someone to pay them $1 billion to do it. And now they get to spit it out. It doesn't matter if people watch it or not.
They're making it for the future. They're not making it for the now. And that means they're not making it for entertainment. They're making it to, like, as I said, when I listened to that video about the Marvel creators, to open doors in the future so that their ideas can flourish more. If you're not making it for the audience now, you're making it for the future and future plans. It's not something that is there except to promote your message.
Yeah, it's kind of strange when people like talk about the culture world and they want to act like you're some type of conspiracy theorist. But the evidence is absolutely out there. There are people battling for the hearts and minds of the future of North America, pretty much all over the world, since we're a global community now. They want to conquer everything. They want to take every fandom. They want to take anything that has value to people, whether it's monetary or sentimental value. They want to take it from you. They want to destroy it. They want to reconfigure it. If you won't accept it, then it's just destroyed forever. So the only option really is to accept this new fangled worldview that they have that's being pushed in all the things that you've loved really your entire life.
It's really a demoralization of the entire society is what they're trying to do. Having a stranglehold on entertainment is having a stranglehold on any kind of escapism. And if you can't escape the political message that they're selling, even with your stories, then there's nowhere for you to go. And that's their, I think, core central part of their message. It's always about power. I think that's what they're doing. And Tolkien is such a shining example for so many people, a beautiful world to escape into. They want that as well.
I think they're hoping that people like you, yourselves, and other lifelong Tolkien fans are going to see the show and they're going to realize there is great production value because it does look like $1 million. But when you see the trailers and the information that they put out, do you think most Tolkien fans are going to be able to get over the fact that they've taken Tolkien's creation, they've taken the essence of Middle-earth and are trying to present it as something that's true to life and true to the creation of Tolkien himself? Are people going to accept it just because it looks good?
I don't think so. I really don't. Like I said, I think Tolkien did hit his mark in so much as he wanted to create something that was like a mythology for the area that he revered in the English countryside. And while it may not have given people reverence for the English countryside, it did give them some kind of true appreciation for his mythology. And so many people today, I find, will be able to quote Tolkien. Used to be, 50, 80 years ago, people read Homer and Hesiod and the Aeneid, those kinds of Roman and Greek myths. And that was a mythology that you read and you understood and you got a basic knowledge from. That's no longer the case. I'd say more people right now use Tolkien than any of those older myths. Having a basis of knowledge as a mythological basis of knowledge, which is something that is really important, I think, just for communication and for people to understand where you're coming from. You have a common language that you can reference, and this is one of their common languages. So it's ingrained more than just this is a story that just you want to see the world. It doesn't matter what it looks like or how it's constructed. No, it matters to actual fans. It deeply matters how the world is constructed and what it looks like, because even though there are various different versions, certainly within art, of his world as he put it down in words on a page. They've always tried to follow his vision, representing that mythology. And this isn't a try. This is, we don't want to follow that anymore. We're going to add our own stuff to it. So they're building a new mythology.
I think the thing that's kind of demoralizing for not even Tolkien fans, just fans in general, it doesn't seem to matter what company it is. It could be Disney, it could be Warner Brothers, it could be, obviously Amazon. But when you think about the modern mythologies, the modern mythos that we have, that we're portraying kind of classic heroes and classic struggles and things that you can learn, your Star Wars, Star Trek, DC Comics, Marvel Comics, all these things that have been created on the backbones of so many wonderful creators over the years have essentially all been bastardized and destroyed by corporate America. And it feels like people are getting gun shy, but no one can stop the corporate machines from going out there and acquiring them and just destroying them and desecrating them. There's like nowhere that you could run for quarter anymore. You can't even go to He-Man as an escape from all the bullshit that's being put out on us.
There is a retreat that they can't take over as much as they want. As much as they want to take over Tolkien, there's still the books, and they're not going to be able to touch those. And you can still exist in that world just by reading them and ignoring what's coming out. They're not going to be able to destroy it. And it's a foolhardy task on their part. And it's going to bite them in the ass. I'm pretty sure that they don't care at the corporate level. In the realm of storytelling and actually producing entertainment that people want to see, there's going to come a tipping point. And most of us have either supported independent creators or created something independent ourselves, but there's going to become a tipping point where the corporate media, which is now corporate entertainment supported, is just going to fall over because nobody wants this. Nobody wants this anymore. I don't think that people are going to put up with this for much longer, especially with the fact that right now, the purse strings are getting tightened, and entertainment is something that you might not be able to afford too much in the future. So you get what you actually want and a bang for your buck. And they're not getting that with any of this entertainment. And you're not going to get it with Lord of the Rings as it comes on television.
This is the final quote that I'll give from a senior Amazon Studios executive that was anonymous. They said, "The reason why it's going to succeed is because the executives at Amazon need it to succeed. If it doesn't succeed, there's going to be a big question from Amazon Chief Executive Officer Andy Jassy and the board. If we can't take this piece of IP and make it successful, why is Amazon Studios even here? It has to succeed. There is no option. They're not going to care if people don't watch this. They're going to spin it one way or the other, and they have succeeded, bastardizing and destroying the work of J.R.R. Tolkien, among other creations within modern mythology.
For them, success is no longer money. Success is awards. Success is notoriety. And they're going to get that. You're going to see this starting to be pushed out in so many places, giving it full awards, giving it write-ups in whatever you can think of, New York Times or the Washington Post or stuff like that, where they're just going to praise it and take that as being their success. I don't know how to put this, but they're very legalistic. I used to work in the legal realm, but they will use loose words in order to describe something that it isn't, and just play with words and play with how things are put out there to claim it is a success, even though the people aren't watching it. But only thing that we have left in order to make any impact with these people that are destroying the fandoms that we love is to turn off the channel. I don't know what else you can do. I mean, you can create, but you got to hurt them in the pocketbook. That's all we have left really to convey our message, even though it's being hidden. It can't be hidden forever.
RJ is not only one of the world's biggest Tolkien fans, he's also a huge comic book fan. In fact, RJ, you've written a couple of comic books at this point. We've had Thomas Valiant. I know you have a webcomic out, Kron the Destroyer coming up. Is there anything else that you wanted to tell the fans about some of your comic book projects?
My first book, which was Thomas Valiant, was very much a 80s comic, sort of DC and Marvel combined together. But the new one is Sword and Sorcery, and it's very old school. It's in the vein of Conan. It goes back to, I think, more, again, the mythology that Conan came from, which is basically Irish myth. And it's basic, steel good, magic bad, monsters evil, men good. So it is something that I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to do fantasy. And if you've liked Thomas Valiant and my writing in that, or if you want to get a copy of Thomas Valiant, you still can. You just have to email me. My email is rjs4thage@gmail.com, and pay through Patreon, and I can get you a copy. Crom the Destroyer, like I said, it's low fantasy, but it is back to the basics and not a giant world that you have to incorporate yourself into. It's just, how am I going to survive this? I think the easier people can digest the story right now, the better.
So if you're looking for something, an alternative perhaps to the Rings of Power, RJ is putting his money where his mouth is and creating a brand new series called Crom, and obviously Time of Science is already out. I want to thank RJ from the Fourth Age for joining me today. If you've never seen his channel, it's absolutely phenomenal. There's a link in the video description. I'm also going to post a video of his talking about Lord of the Rings up here, if you'd like some more of his perspective on Lord of the Rings and what he's been talking about. I've also got this video from myself talking about the big fiasco, going behind that, attacking fans and whatnot, if you want more examples of that going on. Also, if you're on a mobile device, there are links to both videos in the video description as well.